starting.
Is it starting?
It is
Are we
starting.
starting?
Yes.
What's happening?
Hello, hello.
Hi, everybody. It's me, Sandwich. I'm here. I wanted to actually say that I'm sorry for all of the technical difficulties. So I am working on a dinosaur of a laptop, which today I'm completely convinced that it's time for something new and wonderful. But right now you're seeing me from my phone with the fucking speaker phone. So this is super lame because I don't even have anything to, I don't have headphones for my phone because I'm lame. So yeah, I
Well,
never leave the house. What's the point?
you look gorgeous. You're giving me serious Nadia vibes. I'm really
Yeah,
liking this
this
look.
is this is my normal thing. So this is my normal wake up in the morning, and this is the hair I've got. I do want to get those bangs going on though, man. I think it's
No,
bang time.
just
So
I have to say one of the rising stars of this show was her hair. So, with that being said, um, let's just say, welcome everyone. I am Mells Bells. I am with Jen Sandwich from Yikes, Murder and Stuff. And we are going to be talking about the Netflix series Russian Doll, starring Natasha Lyonne. I love her. I love everything she does. So I was super excited when this series popped up into my Netflix queue. So as soon as Jen and I started watching it together, we went through the first 4 episodes and we were like, okay, we've got to do something together. We've got to collaborate and talk about how amazing this show is. But both of us were so excited that we couldn't just stop at 4. We just went the whole 9 yards. We watched all the episodes. And so today we're just going to do a complete recap and overview of the series.
yeah, we're totally unprepared. Hi, Cemetery Doll. We're completely unprepared for the rest of this thing. So we are I have notes up until episode 4, but last night I don't know what got into me. It must have been all that rando ice cream I was eating, and I was just like, play another one, play another one, play another one. So I was just like until it was done, and then of course I'm crying at the very end, and we're gonna tell you all about it. So spoiler alert, we're gonna spoil this whole fucking thing. So if you haven't seen it yet, just go away, get out of here. You don't want to be here.
Just get out of here. You know what? Save this for later. Once you finish the series, then come back and catch up with us, and then feel free to add comments and let us know what you thought about the series as well. So
you can post at us if you think we're wrong, but I think we've got a lot of stuff going on here. But yeah, so I don't know. How do you want to start? Because we didn't get any practice in. So this is Steve.
Hey, Steve.
Yeah, welcome to the show, buddy.
How appropriate that he wants to make a debut, because I mean, another star of the show was this elusive cat named Oatmeal. So
yeah. So Steve knows about oatmeal stuff, right? Buddy, you would never leave me though. That's the problem. You would never leave me. Ever look at that face.
He's not a deli cat.
No, but he loves deli meat, so there's that.
Well,
so
he would.
That's the one thing he's got in common.
There you go. Give him the opportunity. He might be a deli cat, just to let him out. Okay, I don't want anything like this happening to you. So
he'd never leave.
All right. So just kind of as a high level overview. So the series is about Nadia, which is played by Natasha Lyonne. She is a girl who keeps dying and then going back to her birthday party.
She is a 36-year-old woman who keeps
her 30
dying and going back. Yeah.
Right.
It's very reminiscent of Groundhog's Day, but I don't remember. He doesn't die at the end. He just wakes up the next morning. It's the next day. She just keeps rando dying. So it is different.
Yes. So. It's like a macabre Groundhog Day. Maybe.
Yeah. That first death was crazy. So because I was kind of like I already knew that it was about some dying things, and I was like, the whole time. But it was so she gets hit by the cab. I'm sorry, I'm jumping ahead here.
No,
And
you're fine.
I just immediately almost pissed myself. I'm like, pause, let me run to the bathroom real quick. So, because those things are kind of shocking to me. So they're not all shocking like that, but there's definitely, it's hard to get used to.
Some of them were. Some of them were like kind of very hard deaths to process as a viewer. You know, like some of them were, she got hit by the cab. Then other times, she fell down the stairs. That wasn't as bad. But then later on in, some of the later episodes, which we'll get into, some of her deaths were really hard to watch as a viewer, I think. It scared me. But so she keeps dying and then showing back up at her birthday party. She can't figure out why this is happening to her. So she kind of starts this mission within herself and try to figure out, what the hell's going on here? I was at my friend Maxine's house partying for my birthday, and all of a sudden, I get hit by a taxi, or did I really? Those were her thoughts at first. And then I keep ending up back in Maxine's psychedelic bathroom.
What is that? Okay, so what is that? The first thing I thought was okay, she looks up, she's looking at herself in the mirror. It's the very beginning of the show. She looks at the door. It's like a fucking neon vagina on the back of the door. It's basically just like if you ever played Portal, just kind of a goofy like rift in time kind of thing. So it's pretty obvious symbolism. She goes to open the door and it's a gun. Yeah. There's some more. So there's this thing is just riddled with symbols. So So obviously, and God, who doesn't love Maxine? Every time she says, "Who is at my door?" You gotta be kidding me. I don't know anybody. This is weird.
These are the joys of life.
Yeah. Steve, go get that.
Steve, you go take care of the guests. Okay.
Literally. Okay. Zach, can you get the door? I think it's actually my boyfriend locked himself out. So hold on a second. I'm sorry.
Go right ahead. Yes. Oh, hi, Lisa. Hi, Dame. Hey, Cemetery. Thanks for joining us.
Is that my Lisa?
I see Sweatshirt.
Oh no! Oh shit! I'm logged in as Sweatshirt Lisa, where I should be logged in as me, because this is the computer she uses. Also, our stickers got here for Yikes and stuff. So
yeah.
So, all right. So should I log out as Sweatshirt Lisa? No. Okay. Sorry,
It'll
Lisa.
be okay. No, it's totally cool. I was wondering that why it says Steve says hi. I'm like, well.
Oh, because I'm logged in. This is the laptop that she uses when she comes over to record. So, all right.
Well, you're totally fine. Now that I know that.
I didn't want to fucking Bill O'Reilly this shit and be like, fuck it, we're doing it live, because I'll just be like, fuck it. Fucking it up.
No, you are fine. Okay. So Steve says hi to everyone then.
Yes, he does.
Okay, so we see a lot of symbolism in the beginning in the bathroom, obviously. Like you mentioned, the door has this weird, looks like a vagina if you really look at it hard enough, but kind of
vagina, yes.
Yeah, but also kind of starts to be a symbolism of this portal, like you said, like she's leaving the bathroom and going back into what her life is at that time. The door handle is amazing. I love the fact that it is a gun. And
hilarious, but yeah.
And I think at one point in the first episode, she says, like, killer door, and they talk about who designed it and then who made it and everything like that. So,
and who doesn't love Maxine? Oh my God! So, birthday baby, I love her.
Baby. Yeah,
she's great. But have we even talked about really the first death yet? So what happened there?
Right. So, she's partying. She's at the party. She's partying around. Meets this guy. Has some conversation with him. She ends up leaving the party, going home with him. They have a hookup. She sends him on his way in an Uber after, they've had their fun. She realizes that she is out of smokes, and so that prompts her to leave her house. All of this is still Sunday night. So still the day, night, early morning of her birthday. And she sees her cat, Oatmeal. Now, the point or the thing with Oatmeal is that she's talking about Oatmeal's been missing for 3 days. She hasn't been able to find him. So in her mind, she's also on the lookout for Oatmeal because he's kind of an outside deli cat. And so, she's on the lookout for him out kind of in the wild, or
he's been gone for 3 days, and that's not cool with her. I like the idea that she's like super into Oatmeal because he's Lisa's got a friend, Nate, who has he's got this amazing girlfriend who works for public radio, and she's so cool. And she's like, well, he's like a cat. He goes away and he comes back, and she just loves that about him. She's like, oh, you got to just kind of let him go his own way and do his thing, but he'll be back.
Exactly.
So she's kind of, he's kind of a light commitment for her. You know, not too much, still independent, does his own thing, walks away, gone for a couple days, comes back, but he's never been gone this long.
Exactly. Yeah. And she likes that because I believe her friend Lizzie is like, you need to make him an indoor cat. And she like freaks out at the thought of him being an indoor cat.
No, that's free time.
Yeah.
Not right. Yeah.
Steve, what are your thoughts? Yeah. So
he knows he used to be an outdoor cat, and then we got him. So now we can't let him out though.
No,
he would go off on his own and do his own thing, I'm sure.
Yeah, you need to stay inside, Steve. Okay. After watching this series, I'm pro. Please stay inside. Kitty cats that are loved. Okay.
Yeah.
So
he'll find his own horse. Yeah.
Yeah. So she goes out and smokes, and then she sees Oatmeal across the road. She leaves. She kind of almost like darts across the road because she wants to get her cat back so badly, and then she's hit by a taxi.
She's got a kind of a one-track mind kind of thing. She's very impulsive. She's very I get it. I totally get how she is. I am the same exact way.
Oh, exactly.
It's like, fuck, there's my cat. I just got to go for it. You don't even think about it. Plus, when you live in the city, I have been almost been hit by cars by trying to get and do something quickly.
Yeah. Yeah. I mean, that's the thing. You kind of realize from the beginning there that she's obviously wrapped up in the thoughts of where her cat is, because she mentions it several times and she has dialogue about it. So it's almost like, oh my gosh, I see my cat. I'm excited. I want to get him back. And then boom, she's hit by a taxi and she's killed.
My kind of thinking about the cat is kind of some symbolic of needing something to live for, having a responsibility, having something that you need to inspire you to continue living.
Especially for her, because as we'll find out, as the series goes on, some of the struggles the internal struggles that she has and the kind of life that she had growing up, Oatmeal is very symbolic of the one thing that, he goes off and does his thing, but he always comes back, and he's kind of this safety thing for her, even though she doesn't confine him to only being inside all the time,
Yeah, it's like her stability.
Exactly.
He's her crutch.
Very much so. So she's hit by the taxi, and then all of a sudden she's back in the bathroom, back to the very first
gotta get up. That Henry Nelson song. Oh my God. It is so perfect.
It's perfect. And honestly, by there was only probably a few deaths into it before I was like, okay, this does have to be super annoying, because if this is a real time song, meaning if it's playing or something that she hears, I would be like, oh God, I can't do this again. Like, not this again.
It's so chaotic though, because gotta get up, gotta get up, it's just like this quick, repetitive. Let's go.
Yeah, the music, everything it is like a hectic feeling, song. So
yeah, the soundtrack is so perfect. And Harry Nilsson is just so perfectly New York. Love it.
Soundtrack is amazing. So if you didn't pay a lot of attention to the songs in the show, definitely check out the soundtrack, because it is absolutely amazing. I I've listened to it nonstop since I've watched the series. So, which has only been a couple of days, but still, I'm just obsessed with this soundtrack.
It feels like years, just like when you're watching the show. It must be like years going by because you're reliving this day over and over and over and over again. You know, like months have gone by the time you figure out what's going on. And
exactly.
But yeah, so let's see, where are we at?
So she thinks
second death now.
Right. So when she wakes up and she's like, whoa, this is weird. She's immediately like suspicious of this joint that she had been smoking at her party with her friend Maxine. So she tries to get some info on that. Maxine's like, oh, it's laced with coke. And
got it from Mordog, our normal drug dealer. Yeah.
Exactly.
BRB, keep going.
Yep. So she tells her she got the drugs from War Dog. That's a mutual friend. They know them. And so she kind of takes it upon herself to try and investigate into the drugs to see if there's something crazy in the drugs. And turns out that it is laced with something, not cocaine, it's Special K. But that's not, it turns out that's not actually what's causing this, because her friend tells her fairly quickly, this isn't the first time you've done this. You've actually done this before. So it can't, whatever it is that you're.
Yeah, like a bris or something, like, oh, it's somebody's christening or something. She's just like, yeah, remember when we went to that baby thing?
I know, right? We totally had some of this at the baby christening.
Oh, I fucking love them so much.
So her next theory then is it has to be something with the building that her friend lives in, right?
And now we want to point out too, because she's walking around this whole, and I had to come back to this after watching the entire thing. She's walking around this whole series like she's got it under control. Like she's used to the chaos. So she's trying to figure out what's going on and what's happening. But during after her second death, Maxine brings out this projector that she got at Goodwill or whatever. And she got it at Salvation Army.
Yeah.
About this, right? Salvation. Now we're already kind of starting in on the religious stuff, the yeshiva, and the Jewish school. She's talking about, you see her eyes, she kind of starts to go over this. She's had trauma. Yeah. So immediately that she's got trauma and is affected by trauma. Almost immediately. Like you don't realize it until you get a little bit further on in the series that, oh yeah, she's got a traumatic past.
Yeah.
But that's kind of a foreshadow of what's to come with Nadia.
Yep, exactly.
I wanted to throw that out there because it didn't hit me until I saw the rest of them last night. So.
Well, yeah, exactly. Yeah. Now I want to say in the meantime of this, she does have like a few more deaths. So basically we can just say as a baseline that while she's trying to figure out what's happening to her, she just keeps dying and then starting back at square one.
Every conversation with Maxine gives her a little bit more information. Every conversation she has when she first dies, there's 8 fish in the tank. You said you went back and counted them.
Yeah.
The next time she comes back and she says, weren't there more fish? And Maxine says, no, it's ketchup and mustard. That's all I had. And we all know that is not, that things are changing. The timeline is just a little bit skewed for her, but it's almost like it continues to go on in another timeline, and some of it is seeping into hers. Maxine also says again after another death during I think this is still first episode, that she calls her a cockroach, that she's never going to die. And so that's another, okay, this is going to happen again and again and again. And then
lots of references to death and mortality and that type of thing. She makes a couple of quotes herself about how she's just staring down the barrel of her own mortality when someone says something about her birthday. She's like, what is a birthday? I'm just staring down the barrel of my own mortality here.
Right. Yep. So I would say that's pretty much the first episode. Like even when she's reliving it again, she walks by the dude that she fucked the first time before she died, and she just looks at him and she's just like, a fuck you.
Yeah, exactly.
Fuck you. Yeah.
I love it. That was the beginning, bless her heart, of her numerous times where she fell down the stairs and broke her neck.
Yeah.
Couldn't even get past it's like she couldn't even get past getting out of the party. So
yeah, she tells herself, she tells herself right at the end of the episode, she's like, be careful, So so it's pretty great.
So then she, after a couple of deaths, a couple of this happening over and over again, she comes back and she's like, I'm going to party it up. I don't really give a crap.
Mm-hmm.
Obviously something's happening here and I'm just going to keep doing what I want to do. This is the first time we see her actually make it to the next day.
Right.
So what would be Monday.
And she's got that what is it with the oyster cocktail or whatever when she makes her hangover cure with the egg and the Worcestershire sauce and the hot sauce.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, that's the little hair of the dog there.
So that is just I love it. I'm like, who still does that at 36 years old? I'm just like, kudos to you, girl.
Hey, she's a pro. Yeah. She's a pro.
She's a damn professional. Yeah.
She's a pro. So when she wakes up the next morning and she realizes, oh, okay, so I actually made it through the night and I'm at Monday now. Little clues that they give you to know that it's Monday is obviously she has a meeting at work. So she gets these meeting reminders. That's how we know if she's made it to the next day. So she kind of goes through, like I said before, everything with War Dog and figures out that it can't be the drugs. One thing I found interesting, and I thought it was all for a reason why they showed this in the episodes, were when she actually did go to the programmer meeting and there was a bug in the code for one of the games that she was working on because she's a software engineer. She fixed it fairly quickly, which just lends to the fact that she's super smart.
She's a problem solver. That's her thing. Something's wrong. She's got to fix it, and she does fix it. And she's highly intelligent, and she can figure out pretty quickly what's going on and how to solve it. So that I think that lends to her personality. Also, she walked in there looking like a goddamn winner. These guys are all sitting around in their little neck beard t-shirts and their jeans and just sloppy and like, oh, something's wrong with your code. And she just walks in there, yeah, fuck you, let me check this out. Okay, drug dealer's calling, see ya, gotta go. She just walks out with just like the light of God shining down on her. She's just amazing, So then she looks fantastic with the black and the red. I don't know what that is significant of, but the credits when the opening credits are in all red, or all bold at this time. So I just feel like that's her. So it's all about her right now. But she's going through this alone.
Yeah.
She's by herself and she sees all these same people over and over and over, but she's by her. They have no idea what she's going through. She's not participating in this. She's not participating in her own life with the regular people on the same timeline. So she's alone.
Exactly. And they can't help her because they have no idea what she's talking about. I mean, none of them are, she's telling them, I think I'm dying and coming back. And they're all like, are you okay? Which starts the whole backstory of, okay, has she struggled with some mental health issues? Does she have an underlying thing there? Because a lot of concern from the people that love her, Lizzie, Maxine, John, which is the ex-boyfriend, Ruth, the therapist. These are people that which I'm
suspecting Ruth is a family member at this point. Somehow is a member of the family, and it's a funny thing too. I looked up the name Nadia and the name Ruth and trying to search Russian doll and found out that it's also the name of a dahlia, a flower. So
I love that little fact.
Yeah. And I'm wondering if the flowers that we see wilting in the beginning, it was like first or second, I think the end of the first episode, if those are in fact dahlias, which is interesting. So that maybe the solution is in Nadia and Ruth somewhere. But
yes, exactly. Yeah. And that's a good thing to point out also, because we did talk about the fish. So each time it gets a little bit more, things are disappearing. So first time around, there's fewer fish. By the end of the first episode or so, the flowers are dying. So it's like the things are, because then we see in later episodes the fruit thing. So fruit appears to be rotting, but it's still like it's still fresh on the inside. So, and then
there's having multiple timelines going on, like parts of things are on one timeline and other parts of other things are on another timeline.
exactly.
And she's got there's just I mean, I think it's this whole parallel universe, multiple timeline.
Mm-hmm.
We can get into we can get into the philosophy of it later, but it's actually not necessarily, it's not necessary to even think too hard about it once you get around to it. So it's kind of nice. I wanted to come back to before she goes and fucks this guy in the beginning.
Yeah.
This is this rando art teacher or whatever. Some like it's just like some Pillsbury Doughboy white dude. Nothing special about him at all. Super douche. And she's like goes to the store to get rubbers. Because I like to say the word rubber. It's just fun. And she goes to get condoms, and then she runs into her friend Farid, who owns the store or works at the store, and she's like, "What's up with your friend?" He's got a friend in the store who's fucked up drunk, and he's back there spilling ice cream and shit all over the place. She's like, "What's his problem?" And so she doesn't end up interacting with the guy or anything. So, but the next time, then like the next episode, she goes back there and she's like, "Hey, how's your friend?" Because she's made it to Monday now, and she's like, "How's your bro?" And he's like, "What are you talking about?"
Yeah.
And what? I know I saw this guy. He's like, no, that didn't. That didn't happen. So now she's becoming aware that there are multiple timelines.
Yes, exactly. And that things aren't, the timelines they don't match up. So just because she's starting a day over, the same events aren't happening to her. They're different, because she's doing different things. And when we see that part in the store where Farhan is like, "I don't know who you're talking," or, I don't know what you're talking about. Nobody was in here last night. It was kind of quiet. That just goes to show you, okay, so we're on a timeline where, and we'll find out later, where that friend's journey wasn't during that time.
Yep. Things are different. She sees that how things can be different at different times, and she's noticing, okay, timelines are different, things are different. We got butterfly effect going on, right?
Yeah.
So anytime you do something different, different's gonna, it's a domino effect. It happens down the line. Whatever. Exactly. What is it that a flap of a butterfly's wings could kill a dinosaur across the world? I don't know. I might be thinking of Homer Simpson and his, in his like trip back in time, how he like fucked everything up. But it's essentially the butterfly effect, Yeah. So that's basically what she's going through. But she ends up going to next place she's gonna go check out. She's gotta go talk to her drug dealer, right? He calls her and she's like, "Oh, I gotta talk to this guy." So she goes out and she goes to this bar, this corner bar. It's all in the neighborhood. Everybody lives right there in the little neighborhood. And really, 2 people renting a yeshiva, beautiful big ass apartment with a fire escape, and the bathroom is not in the kitchen.
Yeah.
The toilet's not right by the tiny hot plate.
Exactly.
What? Anyways, whatever. I'm gonna let this pass. This is a Sex in the City Friends bullshit thing. I'm tired of it, man. We're people in New York are poor. She goes to this bar, this local bar, and she meets her friend War Dog there, and he's got these Israeli jokes, and he's telling her about this, and he's like, "Oh, anytime you want to come down, here's the password to the secret area, where you can go into." And I can't remember, she gets a call from her ex, and her ex is super hung up on her, and he's got a kid that he wants her to meet, and she doesn't want to meet him, and she keeps running into him, and every time she kind of treats him like shit. And because she doesn't really want anything with him, she just doesn't want to be alone sometimes. Right. Yeah. And basically she's talking to him and saying, go fuck yourself and whatever, not like that, but she's still like, oh, just stop. I'm busy here. I'm trying to die and come back to life all the time. And
I'm trying to figure out. Yeah, I'm trying
Yes.
to figure out why I can't just die permanently, or I can't, why I keep coming back. So how about you cool it over here and let me kind of just do my thing?
Hey, this is the best thing is that she falls into the cellar with those New York cellars, which is like I will never walk on one of those. I will never walk on one of those.
No.
I don't like standing on them. She falls into that, she dies. She comes back, she goes back to the bar again, but this time she goes straight to the bar. She says, "Here's the password." I can't remember what it was. She walks downstairs, she's like, "War Dog." He's like, "Hey, Nadia, what's up?" She's like, "What's in this joint?" He's like, "It's cocaine." The other guy's sitting there, "Oh, no, it's ketamine." She's like, "Oh, fuck, okay." This is where she discovers all of this stuff about the ketamine. Everything's fine, they're doing good. So, but the best part, I just wanted to bring this up because the guy's like, she's like, "I keep dying all the time and I need to find out what's going on." And the one guy is like, "Does it hurt?" And the other guy's just like, and she's just like, "Yes," and she just keeps going. Like, it's like, oh my God. So she keeps dying and it's painful. So we know that, and we know that it's not enough to phase her at all.
Oh yeah, and it's not phasing them at all either because they're just looking like, "What's she talking about?" And
those people, the drug dealers seem to be most like with it. They're just like, okay, all right, well, this is happening. Just like, all right, let's just keep going on with our lives. So
I know. And the supplier's like, "Do you have any mental illness?" Like, I was just like, oh man, because you can tell every time someone kind of either says something about you're acting crazy or anything to do with the mental stability, she gets highly agitated about it,
Doesn't like it. No, that's a big no in her life. So she's got some hangups about being called mentally ill or whatever. So I mean, as a matter of fact, she dies and she goes back to the party and Maxine, she gets into it with Maxine about the joint or whatever. I can't even remember what the fight was, but Maxine's just like, "You're crazy," and she just walks over and she grabs a chicken that Maxine was cooking that she had before in a different timeline had said, I'm going to make this chicken. It's going to be wonderful. It's going to be great. She picks a chicken up and throws it on the floor and walks out. So
that was devastating too, Maxine. Okay. She was not having her throwing that chicken on the ground. That was not good.
Right. And this is another part. This is the really great imagery here, this montage that comes up when she's decided she's in this huge fuck it mode. She's back to square one. It's not the joint. It's she has no idea what's going on. She's got to start all over again. She's just like, let's fuck this party up. And she just gets loose. And this song in the background, Annika, I Go to Sleep. Oh, it is haunting. It is amazing. And it's one of the greatest little montages I've ever seen. Oh man, it's just one of those, you're fucked up, you don't care, you don't give a shit, we've all been there. And it just takes you right back to that spot, and it's like you understand, you know exactly where she's coming from, you know exactly how she feels, and it was just it tugged at the heartstrings in a way to just watch her just smoking and drinking and drugging and doing all kinds of shit and
self-destructing. But the funny thing about that is that even though she's self-destructing,
what are you gonna do? Die?
Well, right, because she knows she's gonna come back. At this point, she's like, well, whatever, I mean, it's not gonna kill me. So literally,
if I'm self-medicating, I'm doing it right now because this is enough. I've died 16 times or whatever, 5 or 6 times or whatever. Right. She knows it's not. She's got to start over again. So she wakes up in this. She wakes up on the couch. She spends the night at Max's and Lizzie's. And Lizzie wakes up and she sees her and she's like, the first thing I thought of was there's this pile of people Lizzie wakes up in. Right. And she's on the Nadia's on the couch and she's like, she looks up and Lizzie like wakes up and there's just this pile of people laying all over. And the first thing I thought was, oh my God, they're dead. Yeah. And the first thing that came to my mind was these pictures of the Holocaust and pictures of killing fields in Cambodia of just piles of dead people. And I thought, oh my God, they're dead. But she wakes up and she's like, oh, well, we had a little fun last night, didn't we?
I fell into something good, I see.
Yes, Nadia calls it the fuck pile.
Yeah, exactly. So she gets smart this time around, though, because that was after she had fallen down the stairs so many times and died.
Yeah.
She's like, I'm using the fire escape this time. So.
Oh, and Lizzie's such a great friend. So she says, Lizzie, would you help me get down the fire escape? And Lizzie's basically like, no questions asked. Yep, no problem. I love using the fire escape. She likes to use the, so.
It was just like, okay, yeah, I'll help you get down this fire escape, whatever,
Not a big deal. This is a good friend. Lizzie is a good friend. She's a supportive, nice friend. Yeah.
No, I love the development they did with her, like as the episodes went on, because you realize that she's really such a good, genuine person, And I mean, Maxine is as well. Yeah. I think Maxine just like is that friend that is not. She's a little self-absorbed, meaning she's like, I threw this party for you. I cooked this chicken for you. You're just
she's a little vapid. Yeah, for sure. But I mean, she's a romantic too. So I mean, she's more, she's probably more like Lizzie and wants to be more like Nadia. But everybody's got those friends that are like that, and they are fun. They throw great parties. So that
she was throwing a good party.
Yes, she was.
So once she gets down the fire escape, this is when she decides to go to Ruth's, which is at this point, we know that they have a relationship, but we find out that she's a therapist also. And
she showed up for Nadia's birthday party, so there's got to be some sort of personal connection there for sure. Because your shrink just doesn't show up to your birthday party.
No, right? Yeah,
I wouldn't want that.
Well, no, I mean, I have had several birthday parties since being in therapy, and my therapist hasn't come to any of them. So
I would not even invite mine. Yeah,
that's how you know.
I don't want you to see me like this.
Exactly. That's how there's a relationship there that we don't know the whole story behind. Once she goes over to Ruth's, you can tell she's comfortable there. I mean, she just goes right into the front door, and they immediately have conversation, just very easy conversation with each other. So so this is where they kind of start digging into the mom situation and kind of talking about Nadia's mom and the struggles that she had. And, Ruth immediately, stops her and says, you're not your mom. Don't carry her damage with you.
I think she says, do not confuse your mother with her damage.
Exactly.
She just wanted to make, she's just making sure that Nadia knows that your mother is a good person.
Right.
But she was ill. So we know now that Nadia's mother had some very serious mental health struggles. Yeah. So, yeah. And so she, when she confides in her and says, this is what's going on. And she says, well, you were a very difficult teenager. Obviously, she had some problems with her mother who had mental health. So of course she'd be difficult. She stays in the kitchen because, Ruth, the therapist or the psychologist, says that this is where you'll always like to be because in your childhood you were missing sustenance and nourishment. So that's why we always sit in the kitchen and talk. So she says, okay, we're going to go ahead and call the we find out that the pendant that she's wearing belonged to her mother.
Right.
And she says, we're going to call the ambulance and I'm going to drive over and meet you at the hospital. Let's at least just get you admitted and see what's going on because this is extremely serious. And Nadia's like, yeah, I agree. Let's do it. She gets in the ambulance and the ambulance drivers and the EMTs or whatever are extremely unprofessional. Yeah. Very unprofessional. The drivers, what's going on back there? It's like, what?
So, don't even get me started on the fire crotch comment.
What the hell, man? It's like these guys are being complete unprofessionals. So New York City, I bet you have a really good system of ambulances and some, first responders out there. Certainly they're not all unprofessional like this weird timeline that she's going through. But they're trying to take her pendant. She's like, no. Everything's fine. I'm fine. And suddenly, boom. Splat, ambulance accident. She's gotta get up. She's back at the sink. The water's growing. She's looking at the mirrors. Fuck, she's back there again. But then, the end of this episode, she's like, oh, they're not putting us away. Not me and you, Pendant. You know, we're staying together. We're not going to be put away for shit. So now she's decided, well, it's not going to work to say it's probably not a mental health issue.
Right. So she's ruled out. Exactly. So now at this point, she's ruled out that it's not the drugs and that it's not a mental issue. Right. In the next episode is where we get a little more information because she starts to think, okay, well, I think it's the building that Maxine lives in. Like, is it haunted? Like, what's going on here? Because I just keep ending up back at Maxine's the party for me at Maxine's in her bathroom.
Yeah. So like maybe now she's like, okay, obviously maybe it was drugs. You know, that's logical. Okay, maybe I'm having mental illness. That's logical, genetic. I'm 36, about time, right? My mom was passed away before I turned 36, before she turned 36. So now she's like, all right, well, that's all I can think of. That's logical. We're just problem solving now. Now we're just doing the order of operations. We're going through it now. Now it's just like haunted building.
Yeah. She's in like super detective mode because she's like, you know, she's just real. I think she's grasping at what are some common factors or what are the things that keep happening to me when I come back, you know.
She knows every time she comes back that she can party. So she's just like she parties again, you know.
Yeah.
So, but then this time then she leaves on the fire escape. She asks about the yeshiva. She talks about the fuck pile again, but Lizzie's not there this time.
Right.
Yeah. So, I mean, things are different again.
Right. Yeah. Little subtle things are kind of starting to show up with each death and each timeline that she comes into. Mm-hmm. The small things are starting to change, but they on a smaller scale. You know, later on they kind of start changing on a larger scale. But right now it's just smaller details that kind of start happening, you know? Yeah. That's when she takes it upon herself to say that she's going to try to investigate this building that Maxine lives in. She gets the information on where the congregation is at that owns that building or where, you know, this was at one point. She runs down there and the Shiva, I believe,
her name is Shifra. I thought she was like a church secretary or a temple secretary. I don't know if that's. Oh, I don't know, or she's a rabbi in training or so. I have no idea. But she's working in. She knows her prayers. She knows all this stuff. And Nadia goes in there. She's just like, here's a mango. And I don't know if you've ever seen Strange Brew or not, where they try to get when they're just like. They try to give her a donut, and they're like, perhaps this will change your mind. And she's like, I don't know why I thought that was kind of a throwback to that, but the lady's just like, she takes the donut and she gives her all the information, you know. But Shifra obviously was like, okay, I'll take this mango, which is funny because she likes mangoes, which is hilarious. So, but she's not going to just let some single woman in off the street and talk to the rabbi about this building. So she has to call up her ex, who will pretty much do anything she wants. Yeah. And basically like say, okay, the rabbi's not going to talk to some single woman off the streets. You're going to come pretend to be my husband, talk to this rabbi, and also I'll suck your cock. Yeah. Right?
That's a little, transaction amongst friends. Right?
Yeah. 5 minutes later, guess who shows up? So, you want to get a dude to do anything, just offer him a blowjob, man. You know? So, but I don't know.
That's true.
Yeah. So, he shows up and, obviously Shifra's like, she's on the case. She knows what's going on. She's just like, Nadia says, look, I got fibroid cysts. I'm never having kids. And please just let him in to ask the rabbi these questions for me, please. And Shifra's just like, girl, I got them cysts too. Yeah. So they're all like, so they all bond over fibroid cysts. And the guy goes in and asks these questions.
Yeah. So John goes in.
Mm-hmm. His name is John, if we haven't said that. That's her ex.
Yeah, so the ex, John, he goes in. He's got this list, and you can tell reading from the list, he's like, what is this crazy shit that she's got me asking him?
Right.
So he kind of tries to start leading off the conversation with the questions that she has down there. And the rabbi is kind of like, all right, look, what's really going on? Like, he tells him buildings aren't haunted, people are haunted, which kind of probes or kind of gets John to tell him his personal turmoil with Nadia. And the rabbi makes very interesting conversation here where he says, you have to, people, buildings aren't haunted, people are haunted. And you, in order to get past, the abyss or this thing, you have to surrender, to get to the next level or get past what it is that's holding you back, sort of thing. Right.
Essentially, I took that as a radical acceptance kind of speech, so yeah. You surrender yourself to the situation, and that's where you'll find the wisdom. So, so basically, she got her questions answered. The building's not haunted. Nothing crazy's ever happened there. And also, she is to do the same thing that John has to do with her. To have to surrender herself and himself to each of their separate situations that they're going through. And so that they're able to move on and move past that and go to the next step. Yeah. Right. So that's kind of a good little circle of advice for both of them.
Yes, for sure. So
they get back to her apartment and they fucking sleep together. She sleeps with him. I mean, like I said, she's going through this alone. She's been alone while she's been going through this, and this has been traumatic. Yeah. She's been dying every single time. She's not acting like it's trauma. You did see the trauma before in the first episode, so you know that she's having it, but now she's kind of, she's expecting it, and sometimes she doesn't expect it. It's but she is, and she remembers everything, and it's painful. We know this, and I think that she just didn't want to be alone, and she just wanted somebody to connect with for a second, and that's all she needs. She just needs connection for a minute. She doesn't need it for very long. Then it's like, come here, go away. So that's what she does. So he's saying, hey, well, what do you think? What about us, huh? And she's just like, what, you want to get back together? And he says, well, yeah, of course I do. And she's like, okay, well, we're together forever. And, she pulls that sarcasm, terrible communication, thing that he does. And basically, he says, I don't know, what does he say to her? How does he say that? Because she's so indignant and sarcastic about it. She's just being a complete asshole about it.
Yeah. Well, what I felt it was she was almost being very smart ass, and it's like, because she knows that John doesn't know this because he doesn't know what's going on. He doesn't understand what's happening in her life from what we're seeing here. And she's like, fine, we'll be together, whatever you want, when she knows in her mind that she's probably going to die any second.
It's just going to reset anyways. Yeah. Exactly. Yeah. And so she's basically, but that he says to her, she's like, oh yeah, we're going to whatever, go into this abyss together or whatever. And he's like, I can't remember the line, but he says to her, you are the abyss.
Right. Well, he basically tells her, he's like, no, you know what the rabbi said to me is that you're the abyss. So, you're the problem here, which really just kind of, she doesn't respond well to that,
No. As a matter of fact, she's just like, she's gonna leave. She's gonna walk out of her own apartment. She's just like, I'm leaving. He's like, you live here. What are you talking about? And so he ends up leaving, and she gets drunk and goes off looking for a cat again, because cat's very important, and she runs into this homeless guy that she's seen before that she feels looks familiar. So,
well, she's seen him in every one of her timelines so far.
He's been hanging out in the background at every one of the timelines. She keeps seeing him, and she finds out this time that his name is Horse.
Yeah,
me. Yeah, like horsey horse. Yeah. So, and he wants to cut her hair, and she lets him. And
I thought it looked great. I was like, hey.
Yeah, well, he busts these tools out, and I'm just like, oh, he's not cutting hair today. We talk about true crime all the time, so I'm just like, oh, this is how she's gonna die. So
Right.
she's like, are you gonna kill me? And he's like, no. And she's like, you can change your mind.
Yeah, exactly.
So,
He's like,
yeah, but it's really adorable because he does cut her hair, and it looks great. And he says, um, this is the old you, and he's holding up pieces of her hair, and he's like, we're to throw that away, this is the new you, the new short haircut you. And she looks at it and she's like, I look like my mom. But basically it's another symbol of the old you with the old trauma and the new you dealing with the trauma, whatever, the radical acceptance, the surrendering to the abyss, or surrendering to her situation. So but basically, essentially at this point I'm thinking this is dealing with trauma. It's all her dealing with some sort of trauma. At this point I'm thinking that she's probably searching for someone she's more alone now than she's ever been.
Yeah.
Going through this. And so she's
looking for some kind of companionship or some
connection.
Some feeling of where she can protect somebody or do something for somebody, Right.
So she hangs out with this guy all night, and then guess what? She wakes up in the bathroom. She fucking froze to death.
Oh, so terrible.
This gives her this gives her a purpose, even if it's just temporarily. So so what's she do now?
So to kind of like wrap up that because what's happening is every time she's dying, she's like, okay, I know what, I don't want to do this. I don't need to go here. I don't need to do this. Her focus then becomes on protecting Horse. She realizes he doesn't have any shoes. So she goes back to the shelter with him. And she stays the night in this shelter to thwart the shoe robbery, because he tells her that someone at the shelter stole his shoes and he's scared to go back there. So she starts to do these types of things where she's helping others and she's protecting him from something, because obviously him not having any shoes, because I'm going to assume that he probably froze to death as well. That's just an assumption of mine.
Right. So, I agree.
Yeah. So she thwarts the shoe robbery, and then he still tells her he wants to cut her hair the next morning, which I think is hilarious. Now at the end of this episode is where she is leaving the shelter. She gets on the elevator, and then she notices this guy who's also in the elevator. He's got a ring box and he seems very nervous. He seems very fidgety. She kind of gives him shit about, hey, you're like kind of being disturbing. What are you doing over there? I think
she's just completely like annoyed by him because he's fidgeting with this ring box and it's like click, 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 click. She's like, could you not? And so the elevator breaks down.
Yeah, the elevator malfunctions, and then everybody hits the floor because they're like, oh my God, what's going to happen, except for the two of them. And she looks at him and she's like, hey, I don't know if you caught the news. We're like about to die. And he looks at her and he's like, well, I do it every day, or I do it all the time. So this so this is where
she's not alone.
Yeah, Alan and Nadia then become a collective type thing here, right? Yeah. So we can quickly
so that's the end of episode 3.
Yeah.
Which is awesome, because the beginning of episode 4 begins with Alan.
Right.
And with the snake with a toothbrush in his mouth.
No, right? Well, we
totally different ballgame here.
Right. And we can go through Alan's stuff pretty quickly. And I will say that I stopped taking really extensive notes after episode 4, because then I watched episodes 5 through 8. And that's when I kind of just took the overview approach towards, what was exactly going on here in the show. So for Alan, who's the complete opposite of Nadia that we find out, he's super obsessed with order. You see him unpacking a suitcase. He does it, everything is packed in these little bags, very meticulous. You know, he takes them
Very
out.
compulsive. Yeah.
Yeah, he puts them up. He has affirmations that he repeats over and over, not just in his apartment, but then on his walk, you know, after we see him with that. Now he has a fish. So another fish reference here. He feeds the fish. We see that his routine, like how Nadia's routine is to wake up every day and she's at this party and figure, you know.
Yeah, she basically rolls out of wherever she's at. Yeah, just a mess.
Right. The difference between the two of them, though, is that he's been doing this because when we first see him, he says the number 10. So we obviously know this is the 10th time this has happened to him. And we kind of get the sense then that he literally does the same thing every single day. Like he's not trying to figure out what is happening to him or why it's happening to him. He just literally feels like he's stuck in purgatory and he has to do the same thing over and over again, which is part of that neurosis of everything being routine, right? So
he does not thrive on chaos. He has an entire lifestyle of doing things exactly the same every single time. And that is where his comfort is. His comfort is having things all hung up, facing the same direction, having things very neatly folded, and everything has to be extremely precise and predictable. Things that are not predictable, anything that happens as a surprise for him can just completely topple his entire psyche. So counting every time this happens, this is definitely something that is new to him, but he's creating order within the chaos.
Yes, exactly.
Running into Nadia was not part of that plan at all.
Right. So for Alan, his routine is basically the same thing. He's torturing himself, really. He's like stuck in this like whole torture, you know, thing where you didn't see him walking to his girlfriend's house, Beatrice. He has the intentions of proposing to her, realizes that she's cheating on him. And then he kind of goes into a downward spiral of, you know, everything kind of collapsing in his world after that.
Well, that's, you know, he goes back and he revisits this thing with his girlfriend, and he already knows what's going to happen because he's done this so many times. He cuts her off. He knows okay, we're breaking up. Okay, I'm going to go home. I'm going to eat this cake. I'm going to get fucked up. And this is what he does every single time. He realizes that she's been cheating on him. That's another thing that comes in. So basically, everything that's happened since he realized that Nadia exists has been thrown his shit off.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, because we see a moment where they actually, pass in the park, which is kind of correlates with one of the timelines we've already seen from her. And then after that, things start kind of switching up in his routine. Like when he shows up at Beatrice's that night, he spills his drink and he's like, that never happens. So she thinks he's crazy because obviously he's living this every day. This is not the same for her. And then it cuts to where, you know, he goes to see his mom, which is the same building that this shelter is in, right? So he goes to see his mom. He tells her that he proposed to Beatrice, and she said yes. The mom seems happy for him. And then this is where we get the elevator scene.
Weird too, because he says, "Oh, Mom, I proposed to Beatrice," and his mom's just like, "Did she say yes?"
Yeah, exactly.
It's like, that's not really, Mom. I mean, so it's like right there, I'm kind of like, what's wrong with him?
Yeah,
that your mom, who she seems like a really supportive mom, would say that to him. Like, why would she? You know, right then and there, obviously, I think something's wrong with him because he's completely neat and orderly, and it's not. I don't know what that's about at all. So, but that's weird that his own mother would say that. So it kind of makes you think that there's something else going on there.
100%. So, this is where we get the elevator scene, right? So, just to kind of go through Alan and Nadia, they basically start to find each other, communicate, try to figure out what's going on, right? So Alan is the polar opposite of Nadia. You know, he's very straight-laced. The funny thing is for Nadia, she's a little more carefree, and she's got the attitude that each day she's like living her own mortality, which is driven by past with a mother who had mental issues. And this struggle that Nadia thinks that she's also got the same mental issues as her mother. For Alan, he's living this shell of a life where everything is covered up by the premise that he's fine, right? Like, he doesn't need help. He doesn't want help from a therapist. He can do these things on his own when in reality he can't. So he's just the polar opposite of her. So
but she's a problem solver, and he's already got the problem solved. The problem that he has solved has been, why is this so completely out of my control? Well, I know what I'll do. The same thing every day. That solves the problem. We are done. He would be just fine going on through life, just doing that over and over and over and over again.
Yep.
Well, she's trying to find a way out. She's trying to fix it because chaos is her thing. So
for sure. Yeah. So, and like I said, I didn't, because I watched 5 through 8 and I was so engrossed in it. I didn't really take a lot of like comprehensive notes on it. So, so really like through clues about each other's situations, I think that they realize that they both die at the exact same time and that they're interlinked somehow, right? So they start trying to put these pieces together. For Alan, his everyday struggle is reliving the breakup with his longtime girlfriend and the devastating effect that it has on the world. They realize that they have the common friend, which is Farhan from the deli. So I wrote a little something here that I thought was interesting. I kind of wrote down like the 6 degrees of Nadia and Alan. So Nadia sees Alan in the deli the night she dies the first time. Nadia hooks up with Mike, who is the other man in Beatrice's life, which is Alan's girlfriend. Yeah, whoa.
That the girlfriend's cheated on with.
They both have met and had encounters with Horst, the homeless guy, although both encounters were very different. Farron is a mutual friend. And so Nadia, because she's at Alan's apartment, she sees this video game that she wrote the code for, and he told her that it was like a shit video game that was too hard to, you know, work through or whatever. And she was like, "Oh, I can beat this." So they sit there.
He's a perfect example because she's like, he says, everything that you have to do in this video game, you have to do on your own. This character has to do everything by themselves. But it's funny because when he was talking to Farad, and Farad said, basically, no man's an island. Nobody can do everything by themselves. Nobody can do it by themselves. So it's funny that she creates a video game that you have to play to, you know, to do it alone without any kind of help.
Exactly.
And I think she plays it, and then she realizes that she plays it at his house because she's smoking, which he of course hates, and she's like, "I'm not going out there. We're gonna die." You know, I think that's the game.
It's so hilarious because that it starts to show you how she kind of changes Alan's like, just listen up, dude. You know, like obviously we're gonna die soon. I mean, or you know, we're gonna die again. This isn't like fixed right now, so you can thank me later or whatever. You know, like don't worry about it. This is gonna reset. So they start to realize that, or she starts to put together that, because she's been noticing that fruit's been like, you know, rotten and flowers have been dead. Like she's noticed these things in each of her timelines. And so she kind of talks to him about, okay, what is our perception versus what is the reality of what's going on, right? We look at this piece of fruit and it is rotten on the outside. She cuts it open. She's like, but it's ripe on the inside, meaning it's still, the outside of it is this the past and what we're trying to rectify, but the inside is represented, or representation of what we're currently in, because the inside of the fruit is not rotten.
I almost went the other direction with that, where I was just like, it's so simple to me. I was just like, it's so simple. The outside of the orange is on one timeline and the inside of the orange is on another.
Well, yeah. No, I mean, pretty much that's what it is, right? Like it's like the outside is representing what is happening to us in the past, because we keep going back to the past every time we die. The inside of it is representing what we are right now. And so if we're going to fix this, we've got to figure out, where do we get back to, for lack of a better term, where before the fruit rots away, right?
Before the inside starts to go. Yeah.
Exactly. So that's when they realize that because then she starts equating it or comparing it to having a bug in the code. So she's like, we have a bug in the code of our life, which means we've got to go. And the bug is that night that we actually cross paths in Ferran's store when you were seriously messed up. That's the night that she comes to find out he kills himself, which is actually something close to her, because that's what we find out happens to her mother. So
before we get to that, because that's a couple episodes out a little bit, but I want to just really quick throw this in here, is that because I'm about to close the book here, because that's where I stopped taking notes. I just watched the shit last night and said, you know what? Let's just fucking do it today. Let's do it live. Do it live.
There we go.
We're just gonna, so this is, he also realizes at this time that he can do whatever he wants. Yeah. Everything's going to reset. He can do whatever he wants. He fucking goes down and confronts Mike.
Yeah. Well, that's the thing. Yeah. That's what Nadia brings out in him, as he starts thinking, you know what? I don't have to keep doing this shitty routine every day. I can do whatever I want.
He needed that so badly, because the trauma that he's experiencing is right now. His trauma is right now, and the trauma that he's having to experience is he's having to relive it over and over and over. And he's reliving it the same. He's not doing anything any different than what he did the day before. So this time he goes to confront Mike at his office and says, hello, I'm the boyfriend, you fat fuck. And he basically just attacks him, and there's no real, whatever. I thought they was going to kill the guy, anyways, what's this guy about? How killed is he? But really, he's more harmful to himself than he is to others, which is where his mental health struggles come from. But he breaks the mirror, and I think that's super important, that when he walks out, Mike said, well, I won't ever be able to look at myself, you know? So, and that's kind of a big issue, that the mirror is being broken.
Yeah. So. Yeah. I was about to say, we also find out with the mirrors that comes into play as something that is part of when they start feeling like they're getting towards the end of, if we don't fix this, then the next time might be the last time we die type
thing. Exactly. So there's more with the mirrors coming up, though. So he throws in his he goes to the river, throws the ring in. Weird execution. He gets executed and falls in the river. Then he wakes up, boom, 12. And the fucking ring is gone. The fucking fish is gone.
Yeah.
That's as far as I got. So
yeah, and so that's the parallel, I think, where we start seeing the things that were slightly different every time with Nadia. Now we see the things that are slightly different every time with Alan, right?
So now things kind of start to come together with their timelines, where you can kind of see where he was and where she was, and things kind of start to make a little bit more sense now.
So. Yeah. So what I wrote down here, just as kind of a, overview of kind of the last of the episodes, is Nadia kind of helps liberate Alan from the mental chains that he's placed on himself. And he's actually able to let Beatrice go. Like after he confronts Mike, and he has those moments that are super important to him, because it helps him actually start to process things and move on from it.
Right. That's the first time that he's tried to do that too, which is really important.
Exactly. So once he starts to do that, though, and this is all because of Nadia kind of being this cheerleader for him, right? Like she's telling him, you know what? You're better than Beatrice. She's not good enough for you. And don't waste your time on this. And hey, you know what? She chose to do this with this, Mike guy, whatever. Like it's over with. Move on. Like try to do something different. And he, in turn, for her, is this moral compass where he starts to have her questioning for herself. What are some of the things in my life that I might need to start actually facing and recognizing that's going to help me move forward? The main thing being her mom, because what happens in the later episodes is she starts to see that young version of herself that was right around the time when her mom was at peak mental instability.
Right.
And because she keeps seeing this little ghost or this little, apparition or, she hallucinates her younger self, let's say.
Yeah, it's a lucid dream. But basically, I think it's more like of seeing, your life flash before you.
Right.
Before you have your real death, So
Exactly.
If you've ever been in that position, a lot of shit that goes through your head in a very short period of time. And I think that's a lot of it. When I think that she's triggered a little bit when she finds out that Alan can't remember his first death. And she's like, the fuck, how can you not remember it? And because now he's got a regressive memory that he is not thinking about, that he's got to deal with that. Now he's got to process that trauma that he threw himself off the roof. I
think that's the thing, is that
and I think he's done that twice, right? Because he ends up doing it again after an argument with Nadia.
Right.
Yeah, that he ended up killing himself.
I think that's when he actually remembers what he did the first time. So he And so once she realizes that, she starts, obviously helping him with his self-esteem issues and things like that. And then he helps her deal with the demons that are his mom. So they kind of start to figure out, okay, what we need to do is we need to address these two things that are very important in our life. So for Nadia, it was going to Ruth. And it was telling her that she felt responsible for her mother's death. Now, Ruth reassures her and tells her, you didn't cause your mom to kill herself. She says, but I told the social worker that I wanted to live with you and not my mom. And Ruth said wouldn't have mattered what you actually said to that social worker. They were not going to leave you in that situation. Because she has that moment where she's finally said this thing that she's kept on her heart for so long. And then the reassurance I think that she gets from Ruth, where Ruth is like, your mom is your mom. She had the issues that she had, and you weren't going to stop that one way or the other.
And we see in these latter episodes too that we get scenes from her past in there. So we see her mother, and we see the kind of degree of a mental illness that her mother was experiencing. We see her breaking mirrors, her mother's breaking mirrors. Nadia starts coming back, and there are no mirrors.
And the same for Alan. No
mirrors. And it's funny because Maxine she's the best. Oh, she comes back to the party and the door's fucking open.
I know.
She doesn't have to open the door. There's hardly any people there. And she's like, Maxine, where's the mirror in the bathroom? Where is everybody? And she's like, it's 9 o'clock. It's early. And then she's like, oh, it's my protest against narcissism. And, it's like, that's so perfectly Maxine. So it's,
And then when it gets to that not that final scene, but that last time where she's like, where is everybody? And she's like, I am the party. That's when she starts, those are those trigger points, or those points where she starts thinking, oh, okay, I have to do this now, because people are
so invested at that time. That was the most terrifying thing, is to see Maxine dancing around in an apartment with no furniture, no people. And her saying, Maxine, come with me. And she's just like, I can't.
And then she says, I can't leave. Oh, it was spooky.
So I got goosebumps.
Me too.
Yeah. So, and just her, like, her dancing around and, still being Maxine. That's, it's almost like that's it. She's the last one. If she disappears, I'm dead. That's it. It's,
So,
there's nothing left. We got to do something.
Yeah,
so,
and that's how she realizes, like, okay, literally, the people are not showing back up in my life, and that's a problem. So,
that's that. So then she takes care of it. She takes care of business. She goes to Ruth and she says, all of the things that she had needed to say, and she hears the things that she needed to hear, and that's the beginning of her processing of the trauma, which is really all she needed. Alan does the same thing. Now he goes to Beatrice, and instead of he just shows up there early, then and says, I understand. I am taking responsibility for my part in what went wrong in our relationship and why we were unhappy. I am also a part of this too. I'm not just some victim here. I just want you to be happy. And Mike comes over with his kid and she's like, everybody's okay. Everything's fine. I don't remember the last death that they ended up having before the last episode where everything got really what the fucked.
Well, yeah. So what happened, I think what happened is once the two of them, I took that as surrendering those, those chains, or surrendering to those, the abyss that was holding them back.
Addressing the trauma. Yep.
Right. They woke up the next morning and they were fine, but they knew though that they had to save each other from that first night that it all started happening. So,
and Nadia is in the bathroom. The mirror's back. The party's back. The people are back at the door. She's hugging everybody. She's hugging everybody. She has an appreciation for people, an appreciation for life.
Yeah.
And number one, that she was, slowly killing herself, whether she wants to believe it or not. She definitely. The same with Alan. Alan was just like, I gotta get to the deli. Gotta find Nadia.
Fish was back, by the way. The fish was back.
The fish was back. Yep.
That's how he knew that the mirrors
the
were all
ring
back.
Was back. Yep.
The fish was back. That's how he knew. Yeah. Okay. Wait a minute. Things have rectified themselves. So he's gonna go to Nadia's party because he realizes, okay.
That's right.
Yeah. I've got to save her from getting hit from this taxi. She leaves the party, even though Maxine throws like a drink in her face, and then they have a laugh over it. And then she leaves, and Maxine helps her walk down the stairs, which I think is hilarious.
See, look at that, good friends. They're good friends. But it's funny because as soon as it becomes less of a competition and more of cooperation between those two, once they kind of get that out of the way. So that's something that gets cleared up also. And I get a little misty-eyed because I love my friends. So, but it's like, once they get that cleared up too, then Maxine's all just like, I'll help you too, because obviously she's like, what's up, birthday baby? She's like, Maxine, I love you so much. That's all really Maxine ever really wanted from her, and so to have her leave her party, oh, here's a drink in your face. Well, that's all that Nadia ever really wanted from Maxine was to stand the fuck up to, So they finally get both what they needed, and they helps her down the stairs. She makes it down. She goes to the deli.
Yep. She goes to the deli, and she knows that what time she needs to be there. They know the times because they've tried to do this before. But
they know the whole. They've done it about 13 times now. So.
Exactly. So she gets there. She talks to Ferran. And, he's like, how do you know, Alan? She does the small talk with him. But both of them kind of find that they have obstacles. It's not as easy as, because then they suddenly realize that they're not in the same timeline.
You see her talking to Farad and seeing the friend in there and saying, oh my God, he's all fucked up over here. What the fuck? And then he sees her walking in with Mike,
right,
with the fuck boy,
and that's where we realize, because it showed like the 4 screens or whatever. That's when we all realize use
of that technique.
Yeah, that was great. That's when they all realize, oh shit, we're in each other. So we've been crossed now to I'm in Alan's timeline where it's the night that he kills himself, right? But
he's in his own first timeline, and she's in her own first timeline. Right. Now they're in each other's timeline. Now they've switched it up.
Right, and they're in each other's first timelines, but without what actually happened the first time around.
They're alone.
Right.
They're having to do this. They're having to do this alone.
Yeah.
On their own. And she's relying on him without him having any help, and he's relying on her without her having his help. Yeah. So now I lost it right there.
I know. I mean,
as soon as I realized as soon as I realized that was going on, I was like, what the heck?
Yeah.
No. They're not gonna make it without each other. They're just not gonna make it. So.
Yeah. So Nadia has to keep Alan from hurting himself, and Alan has to keep her from getting hit by the car. Yep. So and it's not met without opposition. I mean, obviously, because Nadia doesn't know this Alan, and Alan doesn't know this Nadia, but this Nadia and this Alan know the whole story. It's, so it's kind of complicated to explain it, but
well, if you think about how Nadia went with the with Horse to go help him and save his shoes, that she's very tenacious and she doesn't give up. Right. And too, that Alan has learned a thing or two from her.
Right. Right.
And he's learned that if he can go and forgive Beatrice and feel good about things, that is very important in his journey to getting past his trauma, that he's powerful, more powerful than he knows, that he is not just going to give up and succumb to, not after he's been through all of this with her.
Exactly.
He's already promised her she's not going to go through this alone, and that they need each other. They both know that, so he's not going to give up either.
I know. It was so wonderful. And so, both are actually successful in saving each other. What I liked about it is that each storyline continued in these parallel universes, right? So each storyline continued with the Nadia who knows what Alan needs, what damaged Alan needs to survive, and then the Alan that knows what damaged Nadia needs to survive, right? So I just loved.
He knows the type of proof that she needs in order to listen, because he's so stubborn, and then she just knows that he can't be alone.
Yeah,
and she sticks around for it. She just waits for him and follows him around and makes sure that he's not alone, so that he doesn't throw himself off the roof.
Right.
I love the part where he sees her going with Mike, and her and Mike are both drunk, obviously, and they're like, what, fuck this, we're out of here. She's like, let's raw dog. Now they're just gonna go fuck raw dog style. So
it was a wild Nadia in that first night.
Awesome. He takes a picture of them making out and sends it to his girlfriend Beatrice and says, you better call Mike right now. And then really fucked everything up. So that was amazing. And so the ending is, and of course this is all spoilers here, there's a big homeless person's parade where Horse is actually wearing a horse mask.
I know.
And it's this huge parade where they make it through this moment where she actually almost gets hit by the car and Alan kind of saves her.
Yeah.
And then she ends up going back to him because this Mike guy is like, look, she's my girlfriend and everything. And Nadia's like, I don't want this. Yeah. I don't want this less history, more mystery. Get me away from here. And she's like, let me go with this cute guy over here, or whatever. She just knows that there's something about him from what he's done, and they go off together, and he ends up, not killing himself because she assures him that he will not be alone.
Yeah.
You are not alone in this trauma experience, Yes.
It was precious, the story that she told him to get him to go to sleep about, the guy that needed the help, and he came out the window into her hair and he protected him. I mean, I literally cried during that part because I was like, this is, once she was freed from the chains of her mother's, all the guilt about her mother, she just blossomed into this amazing like person, you know. And the same for him. Once he got past that trauma with Beatrice and the self-doubt and the hate for himself and everything, you know, he is so supportive towards Nadia and telling her, you know, I know, like, I'm here for you and you need somebody during this time. Right. And so the ending of it, they rock out, you know, in like the crazy cool hobo parade. Which
is that you see Nadia in her best timeline, and you see Alan in his best timeline. But if you know, I don't know if you paid attention to the end of that though, there were several Nadias going the other way.
Yes,
he was going through the.
Yeah,
I was like, oh, so all the other timelines were there too, or some of them were.
Yeah.
So, which is really that got me. That got me. So it was just kind of nice to see that there was success in the other.
I'm known as a serial crier, and I'm trying not to do that. So, but what I liked about the hobo parade, or you know, whatever you call it, is that they had a lot. It almost reminded me of either a New Orleans like funeral march or a Dia de los Muertos type thing where because they had like paper mache, like skeleton heads, you know, and things like that.
And honoring the dead kind of thing. Yeah.
So to me, it was so crazy that it was almost like signifying the freedom from death, or like embracing those parts of their lives that might have quote unquote died, you know, for them to become better people. So
right. This is the old you.
Yeah.
So it was really interesting. Yeah. And I thought about the ending too. And I thought the Fisher King, I don't know if you've seen that too, where, he, you know, where Robin Williams wakes up in the hospital with the little doll because he had to go get the grail for him, and then that woke him up somehow, and like all the homeless people were there, and when they went outside, and I like New York in June, how about you? You know, so I just that kind of brought that feeling of that the Fisher King brought to me at that time, and I cried at that too. So if you like the Fisher King ending, you're gonna like the ending to this too, because it does to me make sense, and it did feel good. And we don't know if they're dead or not. We really don't. We don't know if that was the end of both of them. You know, that they just happened to die at the same time, and this is them kind of reliving and going back with their, you know, their traumas and dealing with those things before they passed on. We do not know them. We do not, because the parade at the end was obviously something that stretched reality a little bit. But I mean, the whole series was stretching reality as far as we know. You know, but if you're having a homeless person's hobo parade, you know, as far as I know, it's only ever happened in the Fisher King. So
there you go. Yeah, you're right. Yeah.
So
it was an amazing series. It was beautifully written, beautifully told. The music was amazing. The cinematography was amazing. I can't say enough great things about it. I'm probably going to watch it again just because I do that.
Sure. Natasha Leone, I'm getting bangs tomorrow. I'm doing it. I mean, fuck it. It's got. You know what? It's long enough though. It does need a wash, but tomorrow I'm getting bangs. I'm just gonna try it. Yeah, and see what happens. So
I have faith. You can do it.
Yeah, I'm gonna have to bring the hair around a little bit more. I like get some cool glasses, and I'm just gonna be your little psycho stalker now. So.
Well, I wanted to go ahead and kind of just wrap it up. This has been amazing. Thank you so much for joining me and talking to me about Russian Doll. If for those of you out there, you know, drop some comments. Let us know what you thought about it. If you, for some reason, watch this without watching the show, I still suggest you go and watch it, because there are a lot of things that we just weren't able to touch on that were pretty amazing and significant. And just watch it for the cool background and the cool music, if anything other than, you know, just wanting something amazing to watch. So I am Mel's Bells. I and part of Superficial Gallery, American Horror Stream when it's American Horror season, American Horror Story season, also Strangeful Things. And Jen, do you want to tell a little bit about yourself before we go today?
Yeah, I'm Jennifer Sandwich from yikesmurderandstuff.com. We have a podcast that we try to do. We try to make you laugh. We try to talk about murders. We try to talk about other stuff too, though. So it's not just about killing. It's about all kinds of good stuff. It's Acadia Einstein, and you can find him at Acadia on Twitter. You can find me at Yikes Murder on Twitter, and you can find Lisa Sweatshirt at Sweatshirt Lisa.
Yeah.
So we're also on Instagram and Facebook, but I can't remember what our just type in Yikes Murder, you'll find us. So
you'll find us.
Yeah, that'd be just great. We might do this again and maybe have it a little bit better scripted next time. Yeah. So but I think it's just me and you right now. So whatever.
It's okay.
I'm watching you. I'm cool.
Gals, death, and everything else. It's wonderful.
Right. Well, I'm trying to set up something better next time, and so that the camera is working, so we don't have to go through this every time. So.
Oh, you are perfectly fine. So, well, thank you again, and be on the lookout because we are binge buddies now, and we might just be binging something in the near future and giving y'all some more juicy content about it. So,
right. We'll try to come up with some sort of format or something, but otherwise, I just like to talk. So, yeah. This works out well, but we can do this for 4 hours straight. I'm pretty sure my phone battery doesn't die.
So for our first shot at this. So again, thank you so much. And we'll see y'all out in the world, and stay safe and watch out for manholes. Okay.
Yeah. Careful of that. Careful of those things, New Yorkers.
Bye.